Hi, and welcome back to the Business Career College video series. In this video, we're going to look at, and it's been a while since these came into effect now, but we're going to look at the 2011 changes to Canada Pension Plan. Now, it's currently 2014, and not all of these changes have taken full hold yet. Not only that, but not everybody's necessarily aware of these changes either, and they do have some impact on our retirement planning. So, and mostly beneficial, we'll see as we go through this. So these changes to CPP, this is something that we do have to be aware of in general in this business. The various financial services exams may or may not have yet caught up to these changes. Certainly the Certified Financial Planner exams have, whereas exams like the life license may not have caught up yet, and mutual funds may not have caught up yet. So be cautious of this if you're studying for an exam, of the extent to which this matches what's on the exam. I'm going to show what's in reality here. So 2011 then, what we saw here was the government said, hey, CPP, it's pretty good, but it's not working great. So the CPP is subject to a review every 3 years, and you may recall that the Canada Pension Plan, because it's a matter of provincial jurisdiction, but a bit of federal legislation. So what actually happens is every 3 years, we have all the federal and provincial finance ministers get together. And then, of course, Quebec is the exception here, where Quebec does not participate in the Canada Pension Plan, instead uses the very, very similar Quebec pension plan. But every 3 years, the finance ministers get together and they do this review then to determine whether or not the CPP is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So we have some realities here, some demographic realities. We know that we have an aging population. We know that we're likely to live longer, so we have longer life expectancy and longer mortality. We're likely to have longer retirements as a result, but at the same time we have a little bit of a trade-off here where people are likely to work later and have somewhat more flexible or more variable arrangements as they get older. So very common for somebody to maybe start a business when they retire, or to go to a part-time job somewhere, or something that maybe wouldn't fit into the conventional range of what we would have expected in retirement, let's say 30 or 40 years ago. So all of these changes then put some pressure on the Canada Pension Plan. And what happens then is, as part of this triennial review, we decide that we're going to have some changes. Now, there are some alternatives here that were discussed, but this is what the federal government and the finance ministers came to the conclusion of. There was a pretty strong push, and there's still some maybe potential that this happens. There was a pretty strong push to create sort of a parallel plan alongside the Canada Pension Plan that would be more like a defined maybe contribution plan that employees would participate in, or maybe even a little defined benefit plan that employees would participate in. Some argument about whether that's appropriate or not, or there was also discussion about just expanding the Canada Pension Plan, about making this into a larger plan, that is, bringing the benefit up substantially along with the rate of contributions. Those things didn't happen. Instead, we went with a fairly incremental set of changes here. So the big changes we saw, probably the most prominent change that happened in 2011 was the end of the work cessation test. So some of you may remember the days when, in order to start taking your CPP at 60, you had to actually show 1 month of no income or 2 months of reduced income. That's gone. That's no longer the case. So under the current rules that are in force, you can start your CPP at 60. It'll be reduced. We'll talk about that in a moment. And you can do that even though you're still working. And you don't have to demonstrate that you need your CPP. You can just start it at 60. But as the trade-off here, or something of a trade-off, then we say that, okay, if you're still working, you're going to also have to contribute to the post-retirement benefit. So this is another new element of the Canada Pension Plan. Now, we do have a video that specifically deals with that post-retirement benefit. Basically, what this PRB does, the post-retirement benefit, that's PRB, is it increases your amount of CPP. Now, it's mandatory if you're still working from 60 to 65, then you have to participate in the PRB, which basically means your CPP contributions continue, but you can also have an increased benefit, or you also would have an increased benefit as a result. And if you're 65 to 70, then that post-retirement benefit is optional. And like I said, there is a complete video covering the post-retirement benefit in all its detail. So then we see another trade-off here. And the other part of this trade-off is that you would have an increased rate of reduction. So formerly, we had a 0.5% per month adjustment to CPP. If you took it early or late, that's how your CPP would change. So if you started it early, then you would get an extra 0.5% per month onto your CPP, or 6% per year. And if you started it late, after age 65, then you would get an extra 6% per year. That's changed now, so that with the early reduction, so for those that take their CPP early, the change now is that as of 2014, that person will have a 0.56% per month reduction from their CPP, and that's a permanent reduction. The benefit will still be indexed, but you'll never get back that 0.56%. This has been a phased change. So what we actually saw was this change when it was implemented. The government said, hey, if we do this all at one time, that's not really fair. So in 2012, they went at 0.52%. In 2013, they went to 0.54%. In 2015, to 0.58%. And in 2016, to 0.6%. That's where we're going to end up. That'll be the last change. So by the time that happens, that means you take 0.6%. The earliest you can start it is 5 years, and then that would be 12 months per year. That would be a 36% reduction off your scheduled CPP benefit. If you go to the other side of that, if you take it late, this change, this was also a phased change, but as of 2014, this change is all done. And this is 0.7% now. It used to be also 0.5%. So we take 0.7%, and that's, again, per month. So somebody who waits all the way until age 70 to take their CPP now would have 0.7% times 5 years times 12 months. That's a 42% bump possible to your CPP for waiting, owing to that 2011 set of changes. The other change that we saw in 2011 was a change that actually is going to help out with the realities of today's workforce. So when CPP was first introduced, it was pretty standard that somebody sort of lives and works in Canada throughout their adult life. But the reality today is that lots of people spend more time in school than they used to, or people might work abroad where they're not participating in Canada Pension Plan, or you might come to Canada later in life. So that's where we used to have, in the opt-out provision, this used to be a 15% opt-out. That is, we would let you take out 15% of your contributory period. So, for example, if you were working in Canada from age 18 to 65, that's 47 years, times 15%, you would have pulled out 7 years. You would have been able to reduce this by your lowest 7 years, or you would have had your worst 7 years come out to help you increase your CPP benefit. Now, as of 2014, and there was a phase change again here, but now this is 17%. So at 17%, if your contributory period is age 18 to 65, that's 47 years, times 17%, it comes to 7.99. Let's round it off to 8 years. That means you get to pull out the lowest 8 years, which gives you an extra year of low contributions that you get to take out of your CPP. Out of your CPP calculation. So that's a quick summary of the changes that were made to the Canada Pension Plan in 2011, and we can see that now, as of 2014, that most of these changes have taken full hold. The only one that's really left to finish off, and we can already see where this is going to go, is the reduction for somebody who takes it early. So I hope that that helps. It is something that's quite useful to understand, and there still are lots of questions and lots of misunderstanding about these changes to Canada Pension Plan. I hope you enjoy your continued studies. Thank you very much.